Okay, we start with the first presenter is Mutia Rahma Sidqia. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nadiya, for the opportunity. Okay, my name is Mutia Rahma. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mutia Rahma Sidqia, and today I would like to present my research, the impact of digital reading platform on vocabulary growth and reading fluency. This study investigates whether the use of digital reading platform can help EFL students improve their vocabulary mastery and reading fluency. Okay, next slide. Um, for the background, reading plays an important role in learning English as a foreign language. Through reading, students can develop vocabulary, improve comprehension, and gain language exposure. However, many EFL students still face several challenges, such as limited vocabulary knowledge, low reading fluency, and poor reading comprehension. With the development of technology, digital reading platform has become increasingly popular. This platform provide easy access to various reading materials, vocabulary support, interactive features, and flexible learning opportunities. Although digital reading has been widely used, there are still limited studies focused on its impact on Indonesian EFL learners. Therefore, this study aims to fill these research gaps. Next slide. For the research question and objective, the first question is, does the use of digital reading platform improve student vocabulary growth? And second question is, does the use of digital reading platform improve student reading fluency? According to the objective, this study are to investigate the impact of digital reading platform on student vocabulary growth and to investigate the impact of digital reading platform on student reading fluency. Next slide. For the literature review, this study focuses on the three main concepts. The first concept is digital reading platform. This platform provides interactive and accessible reading environment that can support learner autonomy and increase motivation and engagement. The second concept is vocabulary growth. Vocabulary developed through repeated exposure to the word in meaningful context. Digital reading can facilitate this process by providing continuous language input. And the third one is reading fluency, which consists of reading speed, accuracy, and comprehension. Fluent readers can read text smoothly while maintaining understanding of the content. Next slide. And this theoretical framework. This study is supported by three theories. For the first theory is crescent input hypothesis, which states that language acquisition occurs when learners are exposed to the comprehensible input. Digital reading platform provide meaningful language exposure through various reading materials. For the second is extensive reading theory, which suggests that frequent reading activity helps learner improve vocabulary, reading speed, and then comprehension. For the third theory is the technology acceptance model, or TAM. This theory explains that students are more likely to use technology when they perceive it as useful and easy to use. For this theory, provide the foundation for understanding how digital reading platform may enhance student language learning outcomes. And there are research methods. This study employ a quasi-experimental design. The participants were 10 students from SMIT Cordova, and they were divided into the two groups. The 5 students in the experimental groups and the 5 students in the control group. For to the collect data, two instruments were used. The first is a vocabulary test to measure vocabulary growth, and the next one is a reading fluency assessment to evaluate student reading performance. Next slide. And this is a research procedure. The research consists of 3 main stages. The first is pre-test, the next one is treatment, and the last one is post-test. For the experimental group, use the American Literature website as a digital reading platform and participate in digital reading activities. Meanwhile, the control group received conventional reading instruction using printed materials. And after the treatment period, both of group complete the post-test to measure this progress and compare the results. Next one. Here are the findings. The first is vocabulary growth. The results show that the experimental group achieved greater improvement in vocabulary growth than the control group. The experimental group mean score increased from 47.6 in the pretest to 68.4 in the post-test, resulting in a gain of 20.8 points. In contrast, the control group score increased from 46.8 to the 55.8 with a gain of only 8.8 points. These findings indicate that digital reading platform had a positive and significant impact on students' vocabulary development. Next slide. This for reading fluency. The finding reading fluency, this slide is present the result of reading fluency. For the experimental group, reading speed increased from 64 to 72 words per minute, and error rate decreased from 20.6% to 9.6%. And for the comprehension score is improved for 59.4 to 69.0. Meanwhile, for the control group, reading speed increased only slightly from 62.8 to 66.2 word per minute. For the error rate, decreased from a 13.2% to 12.0%. For the comprehension score, improved from 58.8 to 62.8. Overall, the experimental group demonstrated greater improvement across all indicators of reading fluency. Next slide. Here are the discussion. For the findings suggest that digital reading platform improve learning for several reasons. For the first, maybe students were exposed to more vocabulary through frequent reading activity. And the second, digital reading allows students to read anytime and anywhere, increasing learning opportunities. And next is interactive features such as online dictionary, hyperlinks, and multimedia support help students understand text more effectively. In addition, this platform increases student motivation and engagement while encouraging independent learning. These findings are consistent with crescent input hypothesis and extensive reading theory, which emphasize the importance of meaningful language exposure and regular reading practice. Next slide. For the conclusion, the findings of this study indicate that digital reading platforms significantly improve both vocabulary growth and reading fluency. Students show better vocabulary acquisition, faster reading speed, and higher reading accuracy, and improve reading their comprehension. Therefore, digital reading platform can be considered an effective tool for supporting English language learning. Based on these findings, teachers are encouraged to integrate digital reading platform into EFL classrooms to enhance student reading development. Next slide. Okay, maybe that's enough from me. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate of your time and participation. I would be happy to answer any question regarding to this study. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Any question?
No question. No.
Okay, thank you for Mutia already present the article. Okay, let's move to the next presenter is Pupung Padilah. The time is yours.
And from the today, I would like to present my seminar proposal entitled Seeing a Listening Member and How English Language EFL Students Program Motivation and Achievement. So this topic is chosen because I think vocabulary is a fundamental component of language learning that many students struggle to learn and retain new words effectively. So through this presentation, I will explain the problem, the proposed solution, the main findings from previous studies, and several implications for English teaching and learning. Next slide, please. Okay, for the title of my study, in wisdom and numbers, so the titles take the idea that learning vocabulary can become more meaningful when students learn through listening to English. So this study focuses on the impact of English on students' vocabulary motivation and achievement in EFL context. And the main purpose is to explore whether sound can be an effective medium helping students learn vocabulary in a more enjoyable and engaging way. Next slide, please. Yes, we have the problems on the slide. You can see several challenges faced by students in vocabulary learning, and many students consider vocabulary difficult because they have to remember a large number of new words and their meanings. Traditional method, especially rote memorization, often make learning feel repetitive and boring. As a result, students quickly lose interest and become less motivated to continue learning. And another issue is their limited exposure to English outside the classroom. For many students, English learning stops once the lesson ends. So this condition make vocabulary acquisition more difficult and can negatively affect overall language development. Next. And here we have some solution. So to address these challenges, music can be used as an alternative learning medium. Then English song provide rhythm, repetition, and meaningful context, which can help students learn their words more easily than memorization alone. So song also expose students to authentic language use, including pronunciations, expression, and vocabulary in context. So, in addition, digital platforms such as Spotify and Quizlet can support this learning process. So, Spotify can allow two students to listen to songs and follow the lyrics independently, while the Quizlet offer interactive and gamified vocabulary practice. And together, these tools can transform vocabulary learning into a more enjoyable and student-centered experiences. So, next, big. Okay, and there is a singing song can increase motivation too. And despite recent findings related to student motivation, so the studies review consistently show that English song have a positive impact on student willingness to learn vocabulary. For example, there's a 96% of students report being motivated by their own desire to learn, which is indicates strong intrinsic motivation. And another study found that students who learn using Quizlet show significantly higher motivation with a p-value of 0.2. And furthermore, 93% of students identify teacher influence as the strongest external factor affecting their motivation, and overall, all five students include in the review confirm that song can increase student motivation toward vocabulary learning. Next. Next. Okay. Slide findings. Song can create independent beside increasing motivation. Song also encourage autonomy. So the findings show that 65% students actively search for unfamiliar words by themselves after listening to song. So this is indicate that song can stimulate curiosity and encourage students to take responsibility for their own learning. And additionally, uh, 56% of students feel that their vocabulary improved through listening to songs on Spotify. Another 62% believe that the song helped them learn vocabulary faster compared to the learning method, and this result suggests that song can support both vocabulary growth and independent learning ability. Next. Here we have key takeaways. So this slide summarizes several important implications for teacher. The first, song should not replace vocabulary instruction, but rather serve a motivational principles that support existing teaching practice. The second one, combining song with digital tools such as Spotify and Quizlet can make learning more interactive and flexible. The third one, teacher involvement remains essential. Even through technology and music can motivate students. Teacher enthusiasm still plays a significant role in maintaining engagement. And finally, the teacher should be intentional when selecting songs by considering students' age, language proficiency, and interests. And follow-up activities such as lyric and annotation and get feel exercise can also help maximize learning outcomes. Next. Okay, and also the findings are encouraging. Several questions remain as well. One important question concerns the long-term effects of strong visual learning. Most studies only examine certain outcomes. One question is whether different genres produce different results. For example, would folk songs be more effective than those of hip hop songs? Researchers also need to investigate whether it's volume student proficiency levels. Finally, what studies should include larger using both in more standardized assessment method to sharpen obedience. Next. Next. Organization complete about presentation in the song can be available research by vocabulary team. They provide written interpretation and context that helps students remember vocabulary more effectively. And findings suggest that song can increase motivation, encourage learning, and make the learning process more enjoyable. Then when combined with digital tools such as Spotify and Quizlet, so to extend learning beyond the instrument encourages students to continue learning on their own as that on this part, learning doesn't have to be very long. It makes learning more engaging and memorable. Due to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your guys. I hope this presentation provides useful insight into the potential of the Zoom as vocabulary learning to get all students. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pupung, for the presentation. Okay, for the next presenter is me, Siti Nadiya. Good morning, everyone. My name is Siti Nadiya from Class C. Today, I would like to present my research article entitled The Relationship Between Students' Perceived Vocabulary Mastery and Speaking Anxiety During Classroom Presentation. Move to the next slide. In this slide, there is background of my research. Speaking is one of the most difficult and also challenging and skill language, especially in English as foreign language, but still many students still have anxious or anxiety during uh, mass presentation or in public speaking, and especially in classroom presentation that increase pressure the student to public speaking and also influence the fear of confidence. And previous studies just describe about level of ability from vocabulary and state the perceived vocabulary mastery itself. And maybe the student who mastery in vocabulary is more confidence in public speaking. And for the next slide, there are research question and objective of my research. First, what is the level of students perceived vocabulary mastery? And second, what is the level of students speaking anxiety during classroom presentation? And also, the last, is there a significant relationship between the two variables? And for the objective, there are first, to identify students' perceived vocabulary mastery, and second, to identify students' speaking anxiety, and third is to examine the relationship between the variables. Next slide, please. Okay, there's theoretical framework of my research. First theory is speaking anxiety based on Horowitz. So speaking anxiety is feeling of nervousness when using foreign language to public speaking. And also second, there's vocabulary mastery as ability to understanding and use words effectively based on nation. And the last is self-efficacy based on Bandura is belief in one's ability that influence performance. Next slide. There's conceptual framework, variable, and also hypothesis. For the first conceptual framework, there's perceived vocabulary mastery, and next, speaking anxiety during classroom presentations, and also the variables of my research. There's variable X, perceived vocabulary mastery, and variable Y is speaking anxiety during classroom presentation. And the null hypothesis is no significant relationship between variable X and Y, and hypothesis 1 is there is a significant relationship between variable X and also variable Y. Next slide. There's research method that I used in my research for design is quantitative correlation, because I measure the correlation of the variables, and the instrument is questionnaire, and data collection. I use Google Forms to collecting the data from questionnaire, and the scale of the questionnaire is like Earth scale to 1 to 5. And for the analysis data, I use descriptive statistics, Shapiro-Wilk, and Pearson correlation. Next slide, please. Population and sample. Total participant is 11, and population English education students. For the sample, students who have experience in classroom presentation, maybe semester 3 until 6, and technique, the sample technique is purposive sampling, and the reason is why, because relevant to my research focus. And the category for my participants, male, there's 1, female, there's 10, and semester 4, there's 4, and semester 6, there's 7. Next slide. For the data analysis, descriptive statistic, I describe mean, standard deviation, mean and max for reliability test, Cambridge alpha, rather than 10 and 70, and normality test separately, correlational test, percent if normal, experiment if the data if not normal. Significant level is less than 0.5. Next slide. Descriptive statistic, vocabulary mastery, the mean is 23.64, standard deviation 4.11, mean is 19 and max is 32, and speaking anxiety man as 27.55, standard deviation 5.56, mean is 18 and max is 37, and students show a moderate level of perceived vocabulary mastery, and also the students show a moderate level of speaking anxiety. Next slide. Normality test, the data is normal, vocabulary mastery significant point 0.198, and speaking anxiety 0.913, and result but values is greater than 0.5. The data are normally distributed, Pearson correlation can be applied. Next slide. Correlation analysis for vocabulary mastery and speaking anxiety, the interpretation, there's weak negative correlation and not statistically significant, and hypothesis null is accepted. Next slide. Findings and discussion. Okay, for findings, students show a moderate level of perceived vocabulary mastery and students show also moderate level in speaking anxiety, and there's no significant relationship was found between the two variable. And for discussion, speaking anxiety is influence of multiple factors, not just perceived vocabulary mastery, and fear of negative evolution may affect performance, and also self-confidence may play a stronger role, and classroom environment may influence anxiety. And this research small sample size may limit statistical power in this research. Next slide. Okay, conclusion and suggestion. Students demonstrate moderate vocabulary mastery. Students experience moderate speaking anxiety, and there's no significant relationship was found between the two variables. And suggestion for this research, students should continue improving their vocabulary mastery and speaking practice continuously, and lecturers should create supportive speaking environments in the class, and future researchers maybe involves larger samples and additional variables to have the research that more effectively. Okay, maybe that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ramadan, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tamam Romadlon. Today, I am going to present my research paper entitled The Correlation Between Social English Language Media Exposure and EFL Vocabulary Mastery. Next slide, please. Next. As we are all aware, social media has become an inseparable part of students' daily life. Platforms like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and X consistently expose students to authentic English language info. This exposure has immense potential to facilitate incidental vocabulary acquisition outside the formal classroom. However, existing research that comprehensively examines social media exposure through three dimensions: frequency, duration, and content type remains relatively limiting. Next. Driven by this phenomenon, the central question of this study is there a significant correlation between social English language media exposure and FL vocabulary mastery among senior high school students? Next. In alignment with the problem statement, the study serves three primary objectives. First is to investigate the correlation between social media exposure and students' vocabulary mastery. Second, to evaluate social media exposure across three key indicators: frequency, durations, and content type. And the last, third, to assess vocabulary mastery based on three structural aspects: form, meaning, and use. Next. To address these objectives, quantitative correlational research design was employed. The participants consisted of 60 11th grade students selected via total sampling. Data were gathered using two instruments, 20-item Likert scale questionnaire to measure social media exposure, and a 30-item multiple choice test to evaluate vocabulary mastery. The collected data were then analyzed using descriptive statistics and the Pearson product moment correlation test. Next. Moving on to the findings, for the social media exposure variable, the data revealed a mean score of 76.50, which falls into high category. An interesting point to highlight here is that the audiovisual indicator yield the highest score, 4.15, indicating that students are predominantly exposed to English through video-based content. Next. Concurrently, on the vocabulary mastery variable, the students achieved a mean score of 68.20, categorized as good. When breaking down the sub-indicator, students demonstrate a strong proficiency in recognizing word form, 82.5%, whereas they encounter slight difficulties regarding word use, 74.8%, within sentences. Next. Prior to conducting the correlation analysis, a normality test was performed. The results indicates that both variables were normally distributed, with p-values greater than 0.05, since the data met the assumptions of normality. Proceeding with the Pearson product moment, correlation was statistically justified. Next. This brings us to the core finding of the research. The correlations analysis R-value of 0.625 with a significance value of p equals 0.001. This statistically implies two things. First, there is a strong positive correlation between variables. Second, this relationship is highly significant. Consequently, the null hypothesis is rejected and the alternative hypothesis is accepted. Next. Based on these outcomes, we can discuss how higher exposure to English language social media corresponds to superior vocabulary mastery. Audiovisual content provide rich contextual clues that support autonomous, independent learning. Social media act as an effective informal learning environment. Nevertheless, the lower score in the use aspect implies that explicit instructions from teacher is still necessary to help students apply words productively. Next. To conclude the study, there are three main conclusions. First, students maintain a high level of exposure to English language social media. Second, their overall vocabulary mastery is better. commendable good level. And third, there is a strong statistically significant positive correlations, R equals 0.625 between the two variables. Ultimately, social media serves as a powerful resource for meaningful vocabulary acquisition for EFL learners. Next. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Tamam, for your presentation. Okay, next, let's call the last of presenter is Wisnu Arif Nugroho. The time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Arif Nugroho. Today I would like to present my research entitled Is the Effect of Western Movie Clips on EFL Student Speaking Skill a Quasi-Experimental Study? This study investigates whether Western movie clips can help English as a foreign language students improve their speaking abilities. The first slide is introduction. Speaking is often considered the most important indicator of English proficiency because it reflects a person's ability to communicate directly. However, speaking remains one of the most difficult skills to English EFL learners in Indonesia. Although many students have sufficient grammar knowledge, they often struggle to speak fluently and confidently. Some common challenges include limited exposure to authentic English, low self-confidence, and anxiety when speaking in classroom situations. Therefore, innovation and engaging learning media are needed to help students develop their speaking skill more effectively. So the problem statement, this research is based on several problems found in English learner. The first is textbook often provide limited example of authentic English communication, making students less prepared for real life conversation. The second, many students are afraid of making mistake when speaking, which reduce their participation in class activity. And the third is there is growing need for engaging learning media that can bridge the gap between classroom learning and real-life world English use. For this reason, Western clips were chosen as potential learning tool. And then research of the objective. The main objective of this study is to investigate the effect of Western movie clips on EFL students speaking skill using a quasi-experimental approach. The speaking component assessed in this research are fluency, pronounce, vocabulary, grammar, and comprehension. These components were evaluated to determine whether movie-based learning contributes to student speaking development. And then this study is supported by four theories. The first is transient input hypothesis, which states that language acquisition occurs when the learner receives comprehensible input slightly above their currently proficiency level. The second is Swain's output hypothesis, which is emphasize that learner improve their language skill through active language production, such as speaking. The third is motivation theory, which explains that engaging learning materials can increase student motivation and participant. And finally, Mayer's multimedia learning theory suggests that combining visual and audio information improve understanding and retention. Together, these theories support the use of movie clip as an effective learning medium. And then this study used a quantitative quasi-experimental design with one group pre-test and post-test approach. The participants were students from the English Education Department at Untirta. To measure speaking performance, students complete speaking tests before and after the treatment. The assessment focused on fluency, pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, and comprehension. Additionally, a Likert scale questionnaire was used to collect student perception regarding the use of movie clips in learning. And then pre-test and post-test result. The results show a clear improvement in student speaking performance. The mean score of the pre-test was 62.4, while the mean score of the post-test increased to 76.8. This indicates a score gain of 40.4 points. The findings suggest that the use of Western movie clips had a positive impact on students' speaking skill across all assessed components. To determine whether the improvement was statistically significant, a paired sample t-test was conducted. The analysis predicted a t-value of 8.43 with a significance level of 0.000, which is lower than 0.05. This means that the improvement was statistically significant. Therefore, the use of Western movie clips effectively improved student speaking skill. When examining each speaking component, several improvements were observed. Fluency showed the highest improvement with an increase of 5.6 points. Students become more comfortable speaking and show fewer hesitation during conversation. Confidence are also increased by 4.6 points, indicating a greater willingness to communication. In terms of pronunciation, students improved by 4.2 points, likely because they were exposed to authentic pronunciation and intonation pattern from native speaking in the movie clips. And then the questionnaire result revealed positive student perception toward movie-based learning. The first is 8.5% of students found movie-based learning more enjoyable than conventional teaching methods. And the second is 87% reported a better understanding of authentic English expression. And the third is 81% feel more confident speaking in front of their classmates. And the last is 84% believe their pronunciation improved after observing native speaker in movie clips. And then several factors may explain the effectiveness of movie clips. The first, movie exposed students to natural speech and authentic expression patterns that are often absent from textbook. The second, visual elements such as facial expression and gesture help students understand meaning more easily. The third, follow-up and activities such as role play, expression, and gesture help students understanding meaning more easily. The the relaxed atmosphere create a movie-based learning can reduce speaking anxiety and increase student willingness to communicate. So the conclusion is this student found the Western movie clip significantly improve EFL student speaking skill. The student demonstrate notable gains in fluency, pronunciation, vocabulary, and confidence. The statistically analysis are confirmed that the improvement was significant. Therefore, Western movie clips are recommended as a supplementary learning medium in EFL classroom. Okay, that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Wisnu. Okay, to conclude this presentation session, I will say thank you to all of the presenters have already present your presentation. Hopefully, this presentation session give us more insightful experience and also knowledge. Okay, me as moderator, thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.